Without a doubt, the end grain cutting board is the most popular project here at the Wood Whisperer, so I feel it's my responsibility to let you know what could happen to your boards if they're mistreated and what you can do about it. So here's a little story in pictures. A few weeks ago, I woke up and noticed a major crack in my cutting board. How in the world did this happen? I turned the board over and found a small wet spot in the center. It must have been trapped there for a couple days, and the result was disastrous. I took the board into the shop to survey the damage. The crack was easily 1/8 of an inch at its widest point, and the bow was a solid 1/4 inch. I thought the board was trash, so I just put it on my workbench and left it alone for a while. Well, lo and behold, 2 weeks later, the moisture left the board and the crack nearly sealed itself up again. Not only that, but the board was flat again too. With so little space for glue though, the real trick was figuring out how to do the repair. Well, here's what I did. I started by placing blue tape around the wound, just to minimize the cleanup. I then poured a generous amount of epoxy over the crack. The epoxy was too viscous to simply drip into the crack, so using a trick that I learned years ago, I pulled my shop vac over and carefully applied suction from below. You could see the crater that's left behind as the glue is pulled all the way into the board. Now you have to keep an eye on the underside. When you see the epoxy coming through, you could stop applying suction in that area. Now it's time for the clamps. I not only clamped across the joint, but I used 2 small clamps to hold the board down flat to the bar of the outer clamp. The joint closed up very nicely. The next day, I had a little scraping to do, and honestly, a card scraper was just built for a task like this. With the glue and tape removed, you can see that it was a pretty effective repair. I gave the board a light sanding with 220 grit and a fresh coat of thin varnish. My boards are already sealed with varnish. Many of you guys know the technique that I use, so they don't absorb all that much at this point. The final result is a renewed board that's ready for action. Boy, am I glad I didn't throw it away. So the moral to the story? Make sure there's no standing water under your boards, or simply install some rubber feet on the bottom.